Hello, welcome to another video on the Scouring Early Access. Today's video is going to be the 10 workers build order guide because of a new update. Added 2 more workers to the start of the game, and it also reduced the amount of resources we have, and so all the build orders are now auto different. And now I'm going to be showing each of the new build orders that I have made up or figured out in the next part of this video in first person point of view. Alright, this is going to be the Swordsman or Warrior build order. And over here you just start sending all your workers to gold. You take 2 workers to make a barracks. And you take 2 other workers to try and make 2 farms. Because if you don't start making your farms right away, then you're going to be starving pretty quickly because of the added 2 workers that are eating your food auto faster this time. And of course you want to be producing workers. And right as your barracks finishes, you want to start making swordsmen. And of course making workers as well. And right about when my first swordsman finishes being produced, I send 2 workers to chop some wood. That way you can have some wood for future logging camps or future farms that you would need. And so here you're just consistently clicking to make swordsmen and to make workers. And over here, because we have a new added potion crate, you can start clearing wolves a little sooner, about 3 swordsmen instead of 5. And pretty much you just continuously making workers and swordsmen. And of course here, when you're done killing some wolves, you don't need to kill all of them. You can just move on to the next neutral camp. You can let those wolves replenish. And here I'm killing this troll. And here I just decide to get a second group of swordsmen. That way I don't have a lot of downtime where I'm running from one part of a map to another. So this small group of swordsmen can be fighting these wolves here. And this next set of swordsmen can fight the second camp already. And of course you're still producing workers and swordsmen. It's non-stop. And over here, I see I have around 200 wood. And so I skip making a worker, I believe. And I start making a sawmill. And here I leave that wolf again. As we can see, I have 2 of these groups of swordsmen that can be running to 2 different neutral camps. This way it can be a little more efficient to clear 2 spots at the same time. That way you can get more gold for even more production or buildings. And of course microing your swordsman if you need to. But of course those few extra potions in the beginning can help you to not pay attention to your swordsman as much. And then you can shift click your swordsman out of your control group. That way you can capture the outposts while your swordsman can go and start clearing another camp. And over there I had a lot of wood, so I decided to make another farm. And here I'm constantly producing swordsmen and workers, but now I can see kind of killing neutrals very quickly. Now I'm floating all the gold, so at this point I was probably gonna have to switch your workers to chop some wood, which is what I do here, of course. And here I send 4 workers to try and make an expansion. And here I'm taking outposts, still producing swordsmen, and controlling 2 groups of swordsmen as well. And over here I start an expansion. And over here, this is the important part of the build order, is that humans can't get a tier 2 until they get a smoothie, which is why I started the second expansion first before doing smoothie, because it'll be more important to have a second base than to start your tier 2 right away. Here I lose a swordsman, but it's not that big a deal because I'm kind of gaining so much gold by killing all these neutrals that it's not a big deal if you lose 1 or 2 swordsmen. And here I lose another one, but I kind of gain more gold by killing all those neutrals than by just sitting and not doing anything. And over here, my smithy is about done. So I started getting a tier 2 on this expansion, which is harder to defend, so that's why I started there. And here, my food is about at its limit, or its capacity, so I started making another farm, started clearing more neutrals. And of course, still producing swordsmen and producing workers. And there I had enough wood to make a barracks. So that's why I started making a second one. You can keep on sending your guys to kill more neutrals or even patrol your farms. That way your workers can be safe. But of course, on top there, you can see some workers are being assaulted. So that's why you want to somewhat spread out your swordsmen. And right now, I started doing researching the shield ability, which can be useful. And so this is pretty much the end of the first night. At this point, you should have about an expansion, roughly tier 2 like I have, and then about 2 barracks. Right now you can see you can make 2 potion crates and try to do some kind of push against your enemy. You can even research the charge ability, but charge ability is more needed if you're fighting against a ranged enemy, so that can be researched before you get an expansion if you're being harassed too much. And at this point you can make even more swordsmen with double production barracks, or you can make a lot of archers to support them with your shields, or you can even make a sawmill or even a pike ability, which can be useful if an enemy is doing fast cavaliers or munchers. And pretty much at this point you can do whatever you want. Alright, and this is going to be the Goblin Archer build order. And here you send 2 workers to make a barracks. You send the rest of your workers to make a logging camp, because you kind of don't have any more wood, and so that's why you need your logging camp up a little faster. That way you get some wood before your barracks is finished, so you can start archer production pretty much right as your barracks is finished up. And of course you want to be producing some workers in the meantime. And when the logging camp is finished, 4 workers go to chop wood, and the other 4 go to chop some gold. And here you start your first archer. And at this point, I want to skip some worker production. That way I can focus on getting a few more archers, because it's more important to have some kind of army. Because if you don't start producing units, then you might get overwhelmed or outnumbered by the enemy. And of course here, I start my first farm. And roughly when I have 100 wood, I send the other 2 woodworkers to get some gold, because you're going to be somewhat struggling for gold, which is why you want more workers mining some gold right now. And of course, prioritizing making some archers. And there I send 2 workers to finish up that farm and start a new farm as well. Here I'm pulling this troll. Of course, I'm going to be starving for about 3 seconds. It's not that big a deal, so you can still start producing more archers now. And at this point, when your second farm is being built, you can already start making more workers. And I decided to make another worker, because 5 archers, it's a pretty good amount. Start pulling creeps and killing a few of them, like these wolves here. At this point, you want to just continue making archers and producing workers. And here you want to actually try to target fire the wolves to try and kill them, to get the little bit of gold, which is going to help you a lot in continuing your production with your archers and your workers. Because if you just don't kill them, then there's a chance for you to slow down on your consistent production. And pretty much the reason this is more recommended for orc players is that the orcs only need a barracks to start a tier 2 upgrade at their town hall. But human players, they are forced to build a smithy before getting a tier 2. And so this way the orc is going to have a small advantage in being able to get the tier 2 auto faster. It's a bit less investment. 300 gold and 200 wood they need for a smithy before getting a tier 2. For you to then get the archer damage, which is going to be extremely important if you are going for an archer heavy build order. Because in this new update, the archers got auto nerfed their damage, so the archer damage upgrade is even more important now than it was in a previous version of the game. And here I saw I had around 200 wood, so I just kept making some workers and some archers. So now I'm starting the tier 2. And here you can easily clear the trolls and start clearing other neutrals around the map. And here, there's just a few skeletons, so you can just focus them with a few of your archers. That way your base can be mostly safe. But of course, if it's goblin waves, then those extra dead goblins can give you the extra gold to allow you to get your tier 2 auto faster, or even, I guess, another base or another barracks. And over there, I saw I had a lot of gold, so I sent 2 more workers to get some wood, because I want to have more buildings. Right now, my bastion just finished up, so I start the archer upgrade just relatively early on, roughly about a third away through the night. And right now I see my food is about to be going red, so I start to make a new farm. And here, easy way to, I guess, micro troll is to move your archers away, but towards other archers. That way the troll can target other archers and punch them, instead of running after your low health archer, if in case he did run away from other archers, and then he would just get focused and then killed. So that's why you want to run towards other archers. And over here I have about enough resources to get another expansion. That's exactly what I'm going to be doing. And I'm still producing archers and workers. And of course, at this point, I have a lot of archers, so I start using 2 control groups, with one group on top here, and one group on the bottom left. And of course, to be effective with your production, you want to use control groups for your town hall and your barracks. That way you can micro at the same time, and you can click your control group number and then easily continue producing efficiently. Over here, I started a second barracks, still producing archers and workers. And this is roughly the end of the first night. So at this point, I didn't really use those potions there, but if you want, you can, I guess, skip a few archers and make a few warriors. But in my opinion, it's just easier for me to add a few warriors now with my 2 double barracks production. Or you can even continue making more archers to do a big push against the enemy. And at this point, you can see I'm making a forge. That way I can even get the shield ability for new warrior production that I have. I have around 25 archers. You can make a lot of warriors now, get some shields, or make more archers, or even get a Muncher cave and get Munchers. Pretty much you can do whatever you want at this point. You even have an expansion. And so this is pretty much it. Alright, this is going to be the Dwarf build order, which of course only the humans can do. Here you take pretty much 3 workers, you tell them to make a sawmill. You take 1 worker, you tell them to make a smithy, because that's the building you need, a smithy. So now you can start making a dwarven tavern. That way you can start making dwarfs. And of course, you continue making workers in the meantime. Over here I sent another worker to help out the guy making the smithy, so he can just build it a little faster. And here I start a first farm when my lumber mill just finished up. I'm still, I guess, waiting for my final worker. And now you want to still produce. There I sent 1 worker back to get some gold. Because 2 workers is plenty to have your dwarf production. And here, when your smithy is finished, you start making a dwarf tavern. And of course now you can start making a few more workers. And 2 workers is good enough to make the dwarven tavern. And there I sent a single worker to help finish up that farm. Just continuous worker production right until your dwarven tavern is finished. And pretty much right now, you want to start your dwarf production. And you want to stop making workers at this time, because you want to continuously make dwarfs. And instead of making a worker, you can start a second dwarf instead of waiting until you can get another dwarf production. And pretty much at this point, you want to still skip making workers. You want to take another worker and make your second farm. And of course, you can use your dwarf to pull some neutrals, start getting some XP for them. And of course, when you're done making a second dwarf, make a third one. This is pretty much to confirm that you're continuously making military units, because of other people are going to be making a lot of archers and warriors at this time, and so you're going to have a few less units to work with. So that's why you're prioritizing making another dwarf instead of, I guess, making workers, because it's fine to skip a worker or two if you had a little bad macro, but you want to always make sure that you're not skipping the continuous production of dwarfs. But here, of course, I already have all the gold, so I can produce both dwarfs and workers at this time. So here I start killing this troll. Some wolves begin annoying me, so you can just move your workers. And here, you can even use the dwarf melee mode, because they take less damage from melee attacks, so this way they can tank for all your dwarfs. And here, this is important. You can get the last hit on a troll with your melee mode. That way you can get 100 extra gold. And here I'm still, of course, still producing dwarves and workers. Taking care of these annoying little skeletons. And now we have enough resources to get about tier 2. Just need a little bit of gold. And so now I started it. And here I met an AI player, so you can always also kill a few of their units if they're next to you. But of course, it can be a little challenging to find people in the beginning, because they might have a few more units than you. Anyways, over here, we keep on clearing some neutrals. I send those woodworkers to make an expansion, because I did notice I had a lot of wood. Send this dwarf to take care of those skeletons. Here I start to kill that troll. And then we try get the expansion up. So by the time my fort is done, I'm already starting an expansion. I'm still producing dwarfs non-stop. Killing some more wolves. And over here, this is a little information, is that if you want to level up your dwarfs a little more effectively, you can put them into melee mode. This way they do less damage, but this allows them to level up faster, because they still need to do 40 attacks to level up to level 2, 80 attacks to level up to level 3, even if it's shooting their crossbow or their melee attack. And of course also they attack a little faster with their axe, they shoot a little slower with their crossbow, and also dwarves need a direct line of sight to shoot, unlike archers, and so they're gonna have to actually do damage to units to level up, unlike archers who can just shoot over trees or over buildings to level up. And there I just sent more workers. Oh yeah, there I researched the dwarven upgrade. Basically increases their damage with their melee and their crossbow damage. Start another farm. Still producing workers and dwarves. And pretty much the dwarven damage upgrade pretty much puts them back to the stats they had in the previous version. So that way they got a little nerfed with their damage, because you can make them at tier 1. But they did buff them by making them cheaper by 40 gold and a bit less wood, so you can pump them out a little more effectively, because you're not going to be held up by all that extra wood you need. And over here, started making a second dwarven tavern. Still producing dwarves and workers. And this is roughly the end of our first day. I had around 14 dwarves I have 2 Dwarven taverns. I have a tier 2 with a Dwarven upgrade. We have an expansion. So at this point, you can make a few cannons, get artillery on them, or you can just keep on producing even more dwarves, give them some potions, or even attack the enemy at this point. Alright, this is going to be the Wyvern build order, which of course only the orcs can do. And here you take 2 workers to make barracks, and you take 4 workers to make a logging camp. And pretty much, instead of skipping all unit production, I'm going to be trying to make 4 warriors and then start a tier 2. And you can add a 5th one, and then you can start producing auto wyverns. Like pretty much here, of course, you still produce workers. And here you start your first warrior. You make another worker, and pretty much right as your sawmill or logging camp finishes is when you stop making workers. And here you're gonna start making a 2nd warrior. And of course you can start making a farm right away. You make a 3rd warrior. And here there was a mistake, making a worker, so I cancel him. That way I can just get those 4 warriors out right away. And then I guess I click a worker again. And then those 2 workers that are chopping wood can go back to build that farm when you have about 4 warriors. Now you want to just save up enough gold to get the tier 2 upgrade. And of course I was starving a little bit, but it was only 2 seconds, so not a big deal. And here, this is slightly important, is that you want to try and micro your warriors, even though we have potions, because they heal 15 more health when they're level 2, so it's a little nicer if you have a level 2 warrior before he starts drinking a potion. And here start a 2nd farm, and I just have 5 warriors now, and I stop all the other production at this point. And I don't kill all the wolves here, I just leave 1. That way, if you want to kill more of them in the future, they're still going to be waiting for you there. Of course, here, you can't really do anything until your bastion is finished, which is about now. And here, you need 600 gold to get the Wyvern building. So that's exactly when I started. With 2 workers, because you kind of need all the gold for those wyverns, so that's fine. It's only 2 workers making it instead of 3. And over here, just trying to bait in these wolves so that my warriors can actually take care of them. And of course, you want to still produce workers because your bastion didn't finish up and you already started your wyvern citadel or spire, whatever it's called. So there you go. Cleared this wolf camp, and I did decide to finish this one off. And now you can start your wyvern production pretty much right as the night begins. At this point, I'm continuously producing wyverns and of course producing workers, but just like the dwarf build order, you want to prioritize continuous wyvern production instead of continuous worker production. So if you can make a worker, you can add them in, but you want to make sure you're always producing wyverns. So at this point, you can even use these warriors to clear an outpost, or you can use them to defend yourself against goblin waves or those skeletons that are on top. They're munching my base. And here, you already have a few wyverns, so you can start killing these trolls or arbor neutrals, or if you want to be annoying, you can even fly over to your enemy's base and try to annoy them and kill their workers. At this point, you're just producing wyverns and workers. There I did lose a worker to those skeletons. It was a little sloppy. But now I do spread out my workers and put them on a patrol. That way my workers can be somewhat safe. And of course here, you can do a little trick where you put your production clicked on one of your wyverns. That way your wyverns can all keep on, I guess, gathering around each other. Oh, you're started on expansion. Gives out all the gold. And I was still able to keep on producing wyverns, so that's of course a good reason to get another base. Here you can see this wyvern was following me, so you can easily select it and put it into your control group. And here, of course, my food is about to go red, so that's why I start to make a farm really quickly with 3 workers, because wyverns take up 18 food. They're the most heavy food unit, which is why you want to get your farm a little faster. Here you can see wyverns are pretty good, killing units pretty fast. And this is pretty much the end of the first day. And as we can see here, I have about 8 wyverns, and at this point I can make a second wyvern spire, so I have double wyvern production. And of course you can always produce more workers because you have another expansion, and then you can go harass your enemy right now, or go kill their army, or do whatever you want at this point. Alright, and this is the Muncher build order. Here you take 2 workers to make barracks. And you take 4 workers to make a logging camp. And the rest of the workers can go and get some gold. Which is very similar to the Wyvern build order. And so we're going to be doing a pretty similar thing, where we try to get 4 warriors. And we get a tier 2, and we try to get a Muncher cave, and then start our Muncher production. And of course, just like in the Wyvern build order, you start your warrior, and when your logging camp is finished up, is when your final worker is going to be built. And when your second warrior is being built, you can start sending your worker to try and make a farm. And then you can take your 2 woodworkers and then shift click them to help him build the farm a little faster. You can see here, making a 3rd warrior, and I stopped worker production. And I put in a 4th warrior. And at this point, we're going to be waiting for the tier 2. And there I clicked the 5th warrior, but then I canceled it because I didn't remember we need a tier 2 auto faster. Here auto worker is being auto nuisance. But of course, like I mentioned before, you want to try and micro your warriors around. That way they can level up to level 2 before they are forced to drink their potion. Because it's going to be more efficient. And of course, in the meantime, while I was microing here, I use my control group on my clan hall to start getting a tier 2. And of course, you don't produce anything else and add enough resources to start my second farm. And then I also decided to add an extra warrior because 5 warriors are a pretty good amount. But if you want to skip a 5th warrior and leave those 2 potions for a Muncher, that is also an option. And here I go to clear some bandits. And over here, my bastion is finished. Start a worker. And here, this is a little different from the Wyvern build order. Because here, I use 3 workers to make the Muncher cave. Because you're going to need it a little faster. Compared to the Wyvern spire, you only use 2 workers to build it. And here, of course, still produce workers. As you wait for your Muncher cave to finish, then you can start making Munchers. And of course, after capturing this outpost, you can go clear some more neutrals, killing a troll. And of course, I'm already producing a Muncher because of my control groups that I use to effectively get my production in order. Here are some skeletons for annoying me, so of course, the Muncher can munch them away. So you're clearing more neutrals, producing workers, and producing Munchers. And of course, like always, you want to prioritize making Munchers. So you can skip a worker like I did. That way I can start a 3rd farm. And over here, my Munchers are already clearing some wolves. In the meantime, of course, you can use your warriors to clear some neutrals as well. Or, if you want, you can always use them to defend your base against the skeletons. And over here, there was 1 wolf left, so like always, you can leave him alive. Here I'm using my Munchers to go and clear more neutrals, or this troll here. But here I almost lose a Muncher, but of course, microing your units is very important. Here I'm still producing auto workers, auto Munchers. At this point, add 2 more workers to get more wood, because I would want more buildings in the future. Killing more wolves, killing more trolls. And here I have enough resources to start another base, because of all the extra kills I got from all these new trolls. So I sent 3 workers to try make a expansion. But you can see here it was a little delayed because of this little skeleton. So you want to try and focus and start it a little sooner. But it's not a big deal. But here I did lose 2 warriors because I was a little sloppy, but you're going to be using mostly Munchers, so it's also not a big deal. Here I'm just spreading up my Munchers to patrol. Some Goblins are trying to annoy me here, so I had to save my workers. And this is pretty much the end of the first night. So, yeah, roughly, yes, second barracks I'm starting here. So 2 barracks production you can have. And over here you can see we have about 11 Munchers and 3 warriors. You have a second expansion, so you can pump out a lot of workers. And thanks to your double production, you can pump out a lot of Munchers as well. So at this point, you can add archers to this build to help your Munchers, or you just keep on producing Munchers. You can get a forge to get a tier 3. Yeah, pretty much at this point, you can do whatever you want. Alright, this is the end of the video. And if you liked the video or the guide that you just watched, you can leave a like, leave a comment. If you want to see more guides or more videos on the Scouring Early Access, then you can subscribe. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.